Hi, my name is Ruth Justin, and I'm currently in team number one. For this team, we focus mainly on the first challenge dealing with population explosion. I worked alongside my team members, Jose Mauro, Ethan Bernstein, and Stephanie Torres. Now, moving on to the first slide, the introduction to population explosion. The human population growth is becoming a social problem and a huge issue in our society today. The increased global population has been concerning us because of the effects that it may have on the environment, society, and the economy. Therefore, we need to find some solutions in order for us to alleviate this issue of overpopulation. With overpopulation, there will be an increase of cons or bad things that may come with it. For example, there will be a high demand for more food resources in order to accommodate the fluctuation of more individuals in this planet, which can lead to a loss of some parts of the environment, such as arable or farmable land. So, therefore, it is important for us to be able to sustain on this earth without depleting or wasting our resources so we can save for us now and for the future individuals and the future generations. And also, an increase in human population can change our global economy because of the lack of job opportunities that are present, which can increase the poverty levels. However, we are fortunate enough to have many solutions in order to combat this issue with overpopulation. Therefore, in this presentation, we will be discussing the various reasons as to why the human population is increasing along with the numerous consequences that are associated with the continued proliferation of individuals in this world. Not only that, however, we will also have to touch up on the various solutions that can be implemented in order for us to combat or at least alleviate this issue of overpopulation. Now I will be passing you on to Ethan.
Hi, my name is Ethan Bernstein, and today I'll be discussing the rising population. The rise of populations around the world can be attributed to numerous factors, each different depending on whether the nation is classified as developed, developing, or less developed. These classifications of the nations are determined by how they fare economically and politically with the rest of the world. The classifications and examples are as follows. More developed countries. These include the United States, Canada, Germany, and Japan, and they're typically regarded as global superpowers. Next, we have developing countries, and these include Mexico, Brazil, China, and India. And these countries are in a transitional phase. They're kind of in the middle between less developed and more developed. They share qualities of both, but they're not quite there to be developed as more developed countries. Finally, we have less developed countries, which include Bangladesh, Haiti, and Uganda. Now, these are typically regarded as third world countries. So, in developed countries, the population growth rate isn't as high as in developing or less developed nations, and this can mainly be attributed to low birth rates, and this can be traced back to the high availability of birth control methods, higher education rates, and the high numbers of employed women. Now, when women are employed, they tend to conceive children at a later age, and this results in less children being born if women aren't having as many children. Stuff like that. They also have low death rates due to a high availability of medical advancements and technological innovations, as well as high immigration rates, as people tend to think of developed nations as the land of opportunity, such as the U.S. is regarded. And people who are seeking asylum, refugee, they might come here in search of a better life, not just to the United States, other developing nations. Next, we have developing nations, which tend to have high birth rates due to a lack of birth control methods, not as much education as developed nations, or opportunity for women to work. They also tend to have that may be due to oppression of women due to religious or culture, whatever it may be. They also have moderate death rates, not high, not low, because of that they're in that transitional phase, and they do have some types of medicine, some types of technology, but it's not as, high or highly advanced as those in developed nations. They also might have some moderate immigration rates due to maybe they're in the proximity of a country who's in the midst of political turbulence or conflict. People might seek asylum in those countries. Finally, we have less developed nations. These nations tend to have very high birth rates due to basically no birth control, very low education, and typically very, very low women working. They also have high death rates due to having very little technology or medicine, whatever it may be. And they also tend to have high emigration rates, meaning that these nations are prone to conflict. So many people leave if they're impacted, whatever it may be.
My name is Jose Marrero. In my section of Population Explosion, I will be talking about the reduction of resources and environmental damages. The idea of the reduction of resources comes from the population theory, credited to Thomas Malthus. This theory states that the growing population will always exceed the carrying capacity of this world, while the food production, or any much-needed resource, will always increase linearly. The increasing rise of population will always outpace the rise of food production. Therefore, food production will never keep up with the ever-growing population rate, which stems from high birth rates in developed countries against their abysmally low death rates compared to it. For the food production to be able to keep up with the growing population, they would have to perform natural checks where famines, or shortages of food, would occur in attempts to keep the population stable. Researchers have also predicted that in the near future, the global population will reach around 8 to 9 billion people, which would then put a greater strain on the already low food production. Now, environmental damages may include, but are not limited to, the increased rise of global warming, air and water pollution, loss of arable land, and the overconsumption of resources such as water, food, and fossil fuels. The high fertility rates, average number of births per woman, compared to the low crude death rates present in most developed countries such as the United States and Japan, contribute to the population growth, which further increases the demand for land to grow crops, housings, etc., which may in turn reinforce the rise of poverty because of the increase in individuals that are taking over the land that could have been used for farming, arable land. Some farmers live in poverty, and since they cannot afford the much-needed resources such as fertilizers in order to grow crops, they are unable to yield much food to the communities.
Hi, my name is Stephanie Torres, and I will talk about more solutions for the population growth. To offset overall population growth, certain policies like the one-child policy and granting women education is vital. Promoting sexual education is also vital, as it is the main need of our population. It will teach kids in an age-appropriate manner to make smarter choices that will not lead to unwanted pregnancies. Religious concepts also helps. If the population were to decrease, we would have an increase in the control of one's life and continue to strive as human beings, thus leading to a beneficial life. Thank you for watching. Hope you enjoy. Goodbye.